All right, so we'll get started. Good afternoon, everyone. For those of you who went for my level one session on Tuesday, welcome back from a training. Today's session will be on CAS 360 Singapore level two. We're going to go through a little bit more advanced feature in CAS 360 software. So just a very quick housekeeping matter. This session is recorded and all the attendees will be on mute. If you have any questions, kindly post your questions on the Q&A section of the Zoom toolbar, and I will try to answer the questions as we go through that particular topic. If I'm not able to do so, you can always send me via an email or also send a questions to our chat as well. If you have any issues as well, please reach out to our support chat after the session. So I've posted the link for today's manual for today's training, the level 2 session. This is the link for the training or the manual. If you have any attendees or that have registered, if you have any team members who have registered for the training but are unable to join today, you can simply share this manual for them to have a look and use it as a reference along their learning journey with CAS 360. So in today's session, we're going to cover more on advanced features in CAS 360, one of which is our reports. So we're going to learn how to process different types of reports available in the software, which includes your company reports, people group reports, and also learn how to generate a full company register set. In your lesson number 2, we're going to learn how to streamline your annual reports. In this topic, we'll learn different types of alerts available in CAS 360, particularly on AGM and annual return alerts that is specifically available for Singapore. As we go through the alerts, we're also going to learn how to generate companies listing reports, which is essentially a very useful report to help you keep track of the upcoming annual returns and AGM in a report format. We're also going to learn how to change a company status in your tool, in your CAS 360, if there's any change of the status of a company, whether it's a dormant, small group company, and so on. In your lesson number 3, we'll kind of cover more on your annual returns, AGM preparation, and XBRL. So we'll learn how to prepare the XBRL financial statements using the XBRL extension as part of your CAS 360 software license. We're also going to learn how to prepare your annual returns and AGM documents using the annual returns tool in CAS 360. Lesson number 4, we'll learn how to process a multi-company changes. So as you know, sometimes when we have bulk change that you need to apply to multiple companies, especially if it's a change of registered office address, using one address across multiple companies, we have this particular feature called multi-company changes to help you do the bulk change. On lesson number 5, we'll learn about the digital signing. Here, we'll teach you how to set up your digital signing. What are the prerequisites that you need to take note of when you are deciding to purchase the digital signing and connect it with CAS 360? Currently, right now, we are connected with Adobe Sign, Fuse Sign, Lee Sign, and also DocuSign. Lesson number 6 will cover on settings. So in the settings, we'll learn how to arrange your documents, manage the look and feel of your documents, your email templates that sends from CAS 360 to your client. We're also going to cover on this topic on how to set your automated document reminders and your annual returns in AGM, and also manage your email settings. Lastly, on your lesson number 7, we're going to cover on the topic on creating freeform documents. So freeform documents is a feature in the CAS 360 that allows you to create documents that are not a standard document produced by the software. So things like if you want to add in your special resolutions, for example, or your different types of agreements forms, you can add that template in your freeform documents. All right, so I'm gonna jump onto CAS 360. So again, a very quick recap for those of you who didn't go for my lesson number 1 on Tuesday. So your navigation toolbar will be on the left-hand side. You can see that as you hover your mouse, it will give you the actual title, the name of that particular tool. And on the top right corner of your screen over here is our resource hub. If you ever had a chance to explore this, especially your Singapore Help Guide, I would highly recommend you to explore our Singapore Help Guide as it contains a lot of resources and how-tos when you're getting started and also using the different tools in CAS 360. Lastly, if you're stuck or you have any issues, you can always reach out to our live chat support or log a support call through our support help guide. And lastly, navigating your different applications between My BGL and managing your users as well. So the first topic lesson, and rather the lesson of today, will be reports. So reports tool can be found on the very last icon of your navigation toolbar. So you can see right over here where I'm pointing at. And when you click on that, it will bring you to different types of categories that you can change settings. So for example, on lodgement agent settings, this is where we add your corpus, which is also the registered filing agents. Document templates. This is where you can upload your custom templates. On the left-hand side are different categories of Word documents, email templates, and SMS. So that's for the settings, but I think I might have like click on incorrectly. So reports over here is on the last second icon over here. So there are different types of reports that you can generate in the software. You can see that you have company reports, your other reports, and also your company registers. So as along, of course, at CAS 360, we always try to improve the reports along the way. If there are more reports that you'd like to generate, if it's not in this list, you can always reach out to our live chat if you have much more specific report requests. And you can simply let them know what are the data that you'd like to appear in your report, for example. All right, so the first report that I want to go through is this thing called company reports. Now, company reports allows you to display all the data that you've stored for your company. So you can filter it under your report filters, and you can also set what kind of informations that you like to display on the reports. So under the report filters, you can see the filter. You can filter based on a jurisdiction. You can also filter based on the agent, for example. You can also set based on report date. So for example, if you need to generate a report that is backdated, you can simply just select a older date if you want to know what are the reports as of that particular backdated date. You also have your company status over here if you wish to just simply generate a report based on those active ones. If you do not wish to select or show companies that already strike off, you can see that the filter will apply accordingly. Current clients only. And right over here, this one's pretty useful and something to take note as well. If you want to display the historical information, especially the historical position and holding, you might want to actually select as all to display all the historical positions for that selected company. And lastly, your labels. So you can just, let's say your department, for example, or companies that's under your label. If you just want to, you want to remove that, you can simply remove that. So in this exercise, I'm just going to select all the labels so that it will display all the companies. Now, in this next tab over here, we have what we call report settings. So report settings, again, mentioned to you that this allows you to control what kind of information you'd like to display within that report. So things like my standard, I have my company details, company addresses, my company officers, if there are any dividends, and so on. And you will also be able to see that some of these categories, there are advanced options. So for example, right over here, you can select whether you want to display the previous company address onto your company report. For public officers, if you wish to include that as well. Don't think currently right now I have any. Also for your company officers, if you want to display place of birth, date of birth, alternate address, if there's any, and also for your members. If you wish to, let's say, display your shareholder's address, you can also do that the same. If you do not wish to display some of much more sensitive information, for example, if you don't want to display the birth details of those officers, you can just simply switch off the toggle button. So keep as it is. I've switched off also any documents that generated for that company. I've switched on the toggle for registrable controllers and nominee shareholders. So once I'm happy with that, I can simply click Save and select Export. So you can export on a PDF format or Word. So you can see right now, it prompts me that please select at least one. So because earlier on, I didn't select any company at all. So you want to make sure that you've selected the company first. So here I'll just select one, click Export, select PDF. So based on my filters and report settings, it displays the information in my company report, and it will also display as of the date that I have selected. So you can see earlier on, this previous address was switched off, so I've switched on that toggle button to allow me to display this information in my company report. So similarly for the officers, I switched off the place of birth and date of birth. My members, registrable controllers for that company, business activities, and also any company notes. So this company notes anything that you display in this section over here, just gonna quickly jump. Any information you display under the notes in your company selection list, it will be displayed in your report as well. So again, this section was toggle on, so and therefore CAS 360 generates a report to display the company notes. So that's how we generate a company report. Now we have another similar report that you can generate for an individual or on a contact level. So this is what we call a people group report. So instead of generating a report listed on your company selection, these ones allow you to generate a company or rather a report according to all those informations or contacts saved in your global contacts right over here. So again, similarly, we have report filters, and you also have the report settings. So I can also filter based on the position. If it's by default, it selects as current. If you want to display their historical positions and holdings, you can do that as well. And report settings is very similar to your company report. You can control what you want to display. Unfortunately, there's a limitation that you can display. You can't, the system doesn't allow you to display all this information due to the layout. So it can only allow you to save a column of these less than 10 columns. So again, I'm gonna select another a person that I want to generate over here. So I'm gonna select 2 just to show to you how it looks like, and maybe I'll put in myself. And similarly, you can generate that. So what it does is that it generates a report for all the selected contacts that I've selected. So here, my members holding the historical ones. Whether it's a registrable controller, a representative, this particular contact doesn't have any position as nominee directors. So you can see that it's not displayed over there. So earlier on, I didn't select the other ones. I've just selected this one. So again, this is how we generate a people group report. So they're very similar with the company report. So just a very quick reminder that company reports are information that you've stored in your company selection, and people group report are information that you have stored in your contacts. Now, the next report that we can generate under your global reports is your company registers. So if you want to generate a full set of company registers to include all this list, you can generate it by simply selecting this option, Full Company Register Set. Again, similarly, we have filters available on the left-hand side, report date based on an agent. You can also manage which register that you wished to apply. So for example, if you do not wish to include one of the registers over here, if you do not wish to add in the significant controllers, you can switch off that toggle button. If there is a register of auditors, you want to include that in there, you can simply switch on the toggle button. So again, I'm going back. So again, I didn't select any, so I need to select one company. And I can select whether single PDF per company or multiple. So what does this mean is that if I were to generate single PDF per company, all this registered will be stored in one single PDF file. Whereas with multiple PDFs per company, it's able to generate multiple PDF per register for that selected company. So if I'm going to select multiple PDF, it will be in a zip folder. So you can see it will prompt you whether it's now ready to be downloaded. And in your notification, you will receive a notification to notify you that the company registers are now ready for download. So here, because I've selected multiple PDF, the system will provide you a zip folder version with all your registers. So use an example over here. You can see this is the zip folder, and all these registers are stored. For each register, there's one PDF file. Now, if I were to select this in a single PDF file, for example, so I'm just gonna remove that and we'll do this, the other option, for example. Here, I'll select that company again and select single PDF per company. I'll go to my notification bell, download, click download, and you can see that it will provide me over here. It will look something like this. It's no longer one PDF file per register. So it will combine it into all one single PDF file. So that includes all your members registers, your directors, and all the items that I've toggled as switched on in the report settings. So this is how we generate a company register set under your reports. All right, so before I move on, I'm just gonna check any questions about this specific topic. All right, so just a very gentle reminder as well, I'll only be answering the topic, the questions based on the current topic that I'm going through right now. This is because we do not have enough time to go through all the questions. For any questions that are not related to my current training at the moment, please do drop me an email or reach out to our support as well. All right. So right over here, we're going to go to the lesson number 2, which is streamline your annual return. So in the annual returns, there are different ways and tips or tricks on how to manage your annual returns. And one of which is utilizing what we call our alerts on the left-hand side of your company selection. When you first started with CAS 360, you might notice that this section over here doesn't appear. If you're not able to view that, simply go to the arrow sections and expand to see the alerts. So on the advanced filter, it will show to you the jurisdictions, your alert filters, also your labels, and even including your deactivated companies. So what I'm gonna go through today's session will be this section over here, alert filters. Now, a very quick tip when you want to generate a alert specifically for Singapore is to filter the jurisdiction based on Singapore. This will not only filter the companies based on Singapore companies. So you can see I've got 73 companies that are registered as Singapore. It will also filter the type of alerts available for that specific jurisdiction we've selected. So for Singapore specifically, these are the ones that are available. Your AGM alerts, annual return alerts, annual review, document deadline alerts, and AML CDD alert. So I want to focus our attention on these two alerts over here. These are the very useful one, which is related to your AGM and annual returns. So you can simply click to expand the alerts. And what it does is the system will filter all the companies that have these alerts. So you can see I've got 3 companies that the annual return is close to due. Don't have upcoming ones. Date has passed, and also process not filed. So going back to these, now you will notice that each of these granular alerts, it will have the color coding as well. So for example, anything that is AGM due, it's your fuchsia pink colors, and AGM due but past, it will show this list as well, more like a red or orange. Now, the color coding can be a little bit confusing. So to know exactly what this color represents, you can simply go to your question mark over here, and it will explain to you in detail which what of this color represents. So for example, the lavender colored alert, it represents financial year end day approaching within 30 days. Anything that is in violet pink, it's the annual, the AGM meeting due to be held. And you can see, for example, in the annual returns, the ones that are upcoming ones, you can see that it's green. So with this alerts, it helps you to keep track exactly where this company is status in the whole process of the AGM annual returns. So something I want to highlight as well in the alerts, you can see there are things like, for example, over here, process not filed, process not filed overdue, and date as passed. So an example of date as passed is this companies over here. You can see that their annual return was way overdue before, nothing has been done, and therefore it prompts the system or the user to process the annual returns and AGM. Now, there are two very interesting alerts as well over here. They call process not filed and process not filed overdue. So what is the difference with these ones? So whenever the system understood that you generated a AGM documents and annual return documents out of CAS 360, it automatically understands that you have already processed those documents, right? Now, when it's processed not filed, it means that you've exported out your annual return and AGM documents, but it hasn't been marked as filed yet. Whereas process not filed overdue, The AGM is, we've already exported the documents, but we don't know, the system doesn't know whether already marked as filed or you've already lodged it directly to ACRA. And this one hope is very common when you see in your companies that how come in my list, I have a company over here, I've already done my annual returns directly to ACRA, I didn't process anything, and it's showing that it's already overdue, even if I've changed. So the best practice on this are a few things. One is that if you are using CAS 360's template for AGM annual returns, what you can simply do is go to your returns, can simply locate that company. You can see right over here, it's still pending. And if it's already been filed, you can simply click it as mark as filed. If it doesn't require to be filed, you can select as marked as filed, filing not required. Otherwise, you can just simply, most of the time is marked as filed. And what usually happens is that it will prompt you to upload a supporting document. So if you have the copy that you have filed directly to ACRA, you can simply upload that into CAS 360. Don't forget to put the date that was filed and click save. So what happens usually is that once you mark it as filed, I'm going to go to Clover, so it should be working just fine. You can see that the annual return has now been updated to the next year, to this coming year. So if I were to click on mark as filed, under the general details and company dates, it will automatically record whatever dates that you have added in as the file date. So ultimately, it will also update your next upcoming annual returns. Now I'm going to go through this in a while, but we'll go back to the alerts. All right. So again, going back to the alerts, you can see that I've got over here an example of date has passed. It's very common for users that you'll see that this company already filed the annual return for this company. Why is it still showing into my system? Again, the best way to do it is to make sure to go to your returns, this section over here. Search for that particular company, mark as filed. Right now, this is a very old data, so I don't think I can mark as filed. It's fine. So essentially what it does, it will automatically update your annual returns and whatever financial year end date that is currently recorded into the general details, it will follow and calculate automatically. So there are a few things also to take note. What's great about this alert is that when you click the alert, it will recommend you the actions. So for example, again, we're going to go back to one of the AGM due. We have a lot of AGM due companies right over here. And when I click onto that particular alert, it will recommend me the actions that you can do for that in relation to the alert. So this alert, the AGM is required to hold before 30th of June, and a reminder has been sent. So You can see that you can either prepare the AGM documents, apply extensions, exempt from holding AGM, or send a reminder. So if this, for example, this client, they need to apply extension for AGM, you can simply click on applied extension, and this will allow you to indicate the date. So similarly, for exempted of dispensations, it will prompt you to do the necessary records on why you need exempted or dispensed from holding, and you can simply record that as well. So if I were to, for example, the financial year end is on the 31st, and I need to extend in 60 days, I can simply extend that. It will automatically calculate for you and click saved. So the dates will change for your AGM. Now, going back to your company dates. So the company dates are very crucial whenever you're preparing, particularly annual returns. Now, when you click on the dates and you go to a company, let's say we select this specific company over here, and you scroll the way down to company dates, you can simply expand that section and it will show to you the record. Now, if I were to change my financial year end date here, generally you will have a calculator icon over here to help you do the calculation. So I think this company, it's a very old one. So I'm just going to select example over here, this one. So if, for example, I put my financial year end date to change it to the end of Feb, let's say it's on the 28th, for example, I can simply use this date and do my calculation for the next annual return due date and next AGM date. So the most important over here is that first is that to keep track of your annual return last filed, and that your financial year end date is accurate so that it can help you calculate, automatically use your calculator to calculate the annual return due date and the next AGM. So if I were to again come back to putting it as 31st, let's say 31st of March, and I recalculate it again, you can see that the AGM date has now been moved to 30th of August. The other one, annual return, has been moved to 31st of October. So this is how we manage your company dates. These are very important so that your alerts over here are accurate. So if the dates are not up to date, you will receive inaccurate alerts. Now, something to take note as well when managing your annual return alerts. Companies like strike-off, liquidated, inactive, or closed, you will not receive alert for those companies with those status. So how do we know if the company status is correct or up to date? You can see again when you select the company under the general details, it will be able to see somewhere here. If the company is strike-off, liquidated, inactive, or closed, the system will not prompt you of any upcoming annual returns. So that's for annual returns alerts and the best tips and tricks on managing your key dates so you can get much more accurate alerts in CAS 360. Now, before we move on to the next topic, this particular annual return, AGM and annual returns, you can find this on page 14 onwards of the manual. So if you want to find out more and you want to remember what each of the color represents for your alerts, you can actually, it has much more detailed information over there. You can simply click on the sections. It will describe to you uh, how they calculate whether it's a process not filed and returned, or how they calculate a financial year end date approaching. All right. So the next thing I want to go through is on your page 18 of your manual. So we're going to come back again to this section, reports. And we're going to go through what we call company's listing report. Now, this report is very important, or rather very useful, when you are generating a report format to see your AGM and annual returns. So again, the format is the same. You have your report filters that allows you to filter based on jurisdiction. You can also organize the report order based on annual return dates. I can also paste it on my company name ascending and return periods. If you want to split it based on every 6 months, you can do that as well. I'm just basing it on a full calendar year. Agents, and also whether based on company status. So here I've selected all company status. All the company subclass options. For example, if I do not want to include small group company, again, this you can always untick that. And I'll just keep all this selected. And you also have, again, similar to other reports, you got a report settings. It will allow you to control what you want to display in your report. So here, ultimately, because you want to generate a report to display financial year end, AGM, and previous AGM, also your last annual return filed. So I've switched on that toggle button over there. Once I'm happy with that, I can simply select whether to generate into PDF or Excel. So here I'll just generate into PDF. And you can see that it will list down your financial year end date. Generally, it will also post your AGM date over here, previous AGM, and last file. So currently, right now, my CAS 360 license account is a dummy account, so it doesn't accurately show. But what you'll have on your end is that it will allow you to see, based on what you have toggled on over here, this section under report setting, it will display onto the report. So this is a very useful report when you want to see if you have want to have an overview of whether your key dates, particularly your financial year end dates, your AGM dates, are accurate and up to date. It's a good way for you to do your housekeeping matters to make sure that when you're generating or preparing annual returns, it's based on the correct financial year end dates and AGM dates. So that's for generating a company listing. Now, the next one I want to go through on this topic is your company status change. So as I mentioned earlier on, that the status of your company will determine whether you get an alerts, for example, and also it will determine what type of annual returns and AGM declarations that you need to prepare. So for example, over here, this company, 2nd May, so I've got my key dates already added in. And this company is a dormant. Now, if I were to change the status to just simply active, in my annual return, once I am closer to preparing my annual return, it will no longer ask a query whether it's a dormant or so on. So if I were to just keep it as dormant, let's say a dormant company over here, and retaining as it is. So this is 2nd May company. And if I were to go to my annual returns and search 2nd May, you can see currently right now it's not up to date. Or maybe we'll select another company. So do this company as an example. So here it's an active. If I were to select a dormant, for example, click save. And have a look at the company dates. The financial year end date is coming in March. Go to my returns tab and search for that company. When I click prepare documents, you will see that this particular question will appear. Reason being is because I have selected the status of the company as dormant. Right, you can see that is the company a dormant relevant company exempted from preparing financial. You can, if it's yes, you can switch on the toggle button. Now, if you go back to that same company, so let's switch it back again to just an active instead of a dormant. And so all key dates are still correct. I'll just switch it back again to active. For example, click save. When I go back to my returns and prepare the AGM and annual returns, you can see that the dormant declaration no longer appears in your annual return preparation of annual return documents. So essentially, one thing that you have to take notes on to recap on managing your annual returns. First thing is that you want to make sure that your company dates are up to date. You have added in your annual return last filed as well. The status of the companies are up to date as well. And if there's any changes prior to the annual returns, you need to make sure that you change this information. All right. So any questions with managing your alerts, changing company status, and also your company listing? All right. Now, you might have noticed there's one question about request ACRA data. Currently, right now, that's not available. Again, because this is on the ball of ACRA. If they allow us to have these, then we should be able to have that. Otherwise, they do not give us access to this feature to pull out data from ACRA. Otherwise, they will probably be charging you more for it as well. So hopefully there is potential, definitely potential over here. It's more a question on whether ACRA will provide us this feature. If you're having issues with your latest AGM dates, I have a question as well that come through that if you have questions of your AGM and AR dates in the company, but not reflecting on your listing reports, one thing that you can check is either your report date. You want to make sure that your report date is accurate as well. Otherwise, if you're still having some issue with your annual return listing reports, which is this one, you can just send it through to our support. A quick tip as well. I would usually recommend generating the company listing report as compared to the annual return listing. Company listing gives you not only your annual return dates, but also your financial year-end dates and also the AGM dates. So give you a much more information and control. So that's for managing your annual returns in CAS 360. So now that you have a bit of idea of how to keep track of the alerts, what are the important things that you need to take note of as well on terms of key dates so that your alerts are correct, we are now ready to prepare your AGM and your annual returns. So this particular topic, for those of you who are in your manual, you can find this on the page 25 of the manual. You can just click on to the table of contents. It will automatically bring you to that page. Now, in this topic, we're gonna cover how to prepare the XBRL. So basic, very basic one here. As you know, in CAS 360, we have a CAS 360 XBRL preparation tool as an extension part of the software to allow you as a user to prepare your XBRL. If you're already currently using Accra's XBRL, that's also fine. The XBRL tool is simply a complementary feature that we provided for our CAS 360 users. Now, when preparing XBRL, there are a few things that you'll need to take note of before you can enable this feature. So I'm just going to quickly go over here, sections you can see. So first thing you'll need to make sure of is that your dates or your data are accurate, particularly on the status of the setup of your company. So all this information, general details are very important as this is what it gets pulled onto your preparation tool. So you want to make sure that they're accurate, your UNs, also your company status, your company type, they're accurate and true so that you're preparing the correct XBRL. Prerequisite as well is that just like your Accra preparation tool, you'll need to install your XBRL preparation tool. So how do we go back in that? So when you go into your CAS 360 under returns, in your dot button, you can see that prepare XBRL. So as a beginner or new user of the software, the system will prompt you that you need to install your application. So because right now for me, I've already installed these applications, I can simply open and start XBRL. So where do we get the installation file? You can simply click onto this particular link and it will download a file for you to run the installation file. Make sure to install it on your own laptop, your workstation. not necessary on your company server. As long as it's on your workstation and you have the preparation tool, your software, CAS 360, can recognize that your current workstation, computer, or laptop workstations has the XBRL to prepare. So you can see right over here, once you installed it and it's already in your computer, you can launch the XBRL for preparations. And what usually happens is that before you can even use the preparation tool, it will require you to have authorization. So you've got your username, CAS 360 username is your email address, and BGL token key. So how do we get this token key? Reason why we have this token key is, again, this is additional layer of security. You're making sure that whoever the user preparing the XBRL, they're actually have the rights to even prepare XBRL. So to do that, I can simply go to come over here. We'll go back to your and returns and your CAS 360. And if you are prompted to do your token key, you will need to make sure that you as a user, you have even rights, you have actual rights to prepare XBRL. So how do you know if you have rights? Firstly, you must speak to your account owner from your company who had the master admin to control who gets the rights to prompt you that you are XBRL. If they do not know how to adjust that, you can simply give them the instructions. Essentially, if you're account owner and you want to assign one of your team members or your accounts team to do XBRL, you will need to assign them as a user to access the software. So again, going back to your app switcher, select your users. And here under your admin, you've got your role settings. So if you want to have more control on who is using that role settings, you can simply, assign them in the content. Even that you can, let's say, for XBRL only, let's say I want to create a new role. And I can adjust what type of access that they can do. So I can enable the group. I can, let's say, here, disable that part if only I don't want them to have this access. And this is the most important part. You want to make sure that they have this tokens over here. So you can this section, I mean. If the user has, let's say they have the rights, but they don't have the XBRL rights, they won't be able to, first thing, two things. They cannot download the application. Secondly, is that the system will not allow them to prepare the XBRL. So if I want to just say like, okay, I just want them to prepare the XBRL, for example, I still also want them to see the company screen, manage labels. I'm just going to do it this basic. But most importantly, XBRL has been switched off, and then you can quickly save the role and assign that this role to the person who is preparing the XBRL. So if I were to go through some of my roles, for example, let's say I've got CorpSec team A. I think I have one that's, let's say if team C are the ones preparing XBRL, I don't want them to have access rights. So if the person, let's say myself, my manager, wants me to have a role setting as Team C, but my manager doesn't want me to touch on the XBRL. I'm not allowed to prepare XBRL. I won't be able, as a user, I won't be able to install and also launch the application to prepare XBRL. So as an account owner, take note, if you are an account owner and you're assigning role settings to the users and your team member needs to prepare XBRL, make sure that the role settings assigned to them has an XBRL. All right. So that's that. Now, how do we go back? So going back to this section over here. So what it requires us to do is receive a token key. And one of the reasons why that I highlight this specifically is because this is the one that enables the user to generate a token key. So how do we go about with the token key? So when the user, so again, I'm gonna exit, I'll go back to my CAS 360 one more time just to show to you. Now, as a user, when they go to their app switcher and click on user, they can navigate on the left-hand side of their settings. So majority of the times, if you're a very basic user, they won't have access rights to invitation and user manager, and they also won't be able to see token management. As I am an account owner, I have a full admin rights to my company's CAS 360 and my BGL. I could see this section over here called token management. Under your token management, you can see there is a section called Singapore XBRL token. So and it has already expired. So what I'll need to do is generate that token key, copy, and I'll go back to my XBRL. So here I'll just simply remove my token, copy and paste the new ones and run a validate. This will notify me that this particular user, the expert for companies in CAS 360 form, that it has been confirmed and that this is under the Gen Training Singapore account, which means your company's name will appear on this section. So I confirm that it's true and correct, and then you click save. So when you're preparing the XBRL, there are a few ways to do it. If you are preparing it from scratch and this is the first time you're preparing the XBRL for the client, you can simply click new and it will give you all your line items. This will include like most financial statements and your statements and notes. So depending on whether you're preparing a full XBRL or not, you can simply select whether it's a simplified, and if you select as simplified, it will automatically simplify the section on the left-hand side. Your statements and notes, you can see it's already a simplified version. And you can key in all the necessary informations. So again, if I go back to my full XBRL and then go over here, it will prompt me that change your XBRL settings to full XBRL. Now, when you're preparing XBRL as well, is that you can do what we call imports. So if you have a XBRL, the text, you can copy the text from the financial statement, copy and paste, and it will automatically do an auto tag into your notes and statements. If it didn't match up, you can simply drag and drop to the items so that it match-ups as well. So currently, because this is not a live account, I'm not able to do a actual preparation of XBRL. So what I'll show to you is one of a sample of how one of our users done an XBRL preparation using our XBRL preparation tool. So here it's a similar process. You can see the interface a little bit different as we have run some updates. And the user over here has a rights to prepare XBRL. And you can see that before that, I'm just going to pause for a while. It's preparing this company's XBRL. This is the user. So here it will have the notes. You can key in or manually. You can see that it will also auto-calculate for you whether it's out of balance. Alternatively, if you have an existing file, the previous XBRL, you can simply upload that XBRL file. So you can see right now that after running the validations, it's quite similar to the Accra preparation tool. It does a real-time validation with Accra, and if they detect that there is a possible or genuine error, you are able to download a list of errors provided by Accra, which of those items that have, that's possibly or genuinely an error. Here you will have a copy of the XBRL report. And currently, your user, what is she doing is that she needs to correct some of the error and run a validation again. So again, the user is running a validation one more time after correcting the errors based on the report. And you can see right now that the validation is correct. So again, you can download a PDF copy, a review copy of the XBRL. And confirm that this XBRL data is correct and true. So I'm just going to stop right over there. So previously, because we used to have a lodgement connectivity with Accra before they changed the whole platform last year, so you can do the upload of XBRL. But unfortunately, right now, they still haven't reinstated back the whole lodgement process from Accra, from CAS 360 to Accra. So the current process will be downloading or exporting your XBRL. So to export it, you can simply select validate and export or click save, and you can simply launch the XBRL directly to Accra's platform, right? So hopefully this is something that they can reinstate it back to CAS 360. You can see that we can actually upload it directly back to the software. So you as a user have the ability to lodge your annual return with the XBRL. But right now, this is something that Accra has disabled for all software vendors, including CAS 360. All right. So for now, the best way to go about with this is to, once you have your validation true and correct, download the PDF copy of the XBRL and save the file into your desktop so that when you're ready to launch the annual return and the XBRL, you can generate or you can upload that XBRL file into Accra's annual return filing portal. So that's how we processed XBRL. So we do have much more accurate trainings over here for XBRL. You can locate it into our channel. So I'm just going to exit this courses in a while. Any questions so far for the XBRL? Or is this specific topic? All right. So I'm just going to go through few questions if it's related to this topic. How do you check your user role? You can find it. Please check with your account owner about your user role. If you're not able to see your user role, for example, it means that you are not the admin. So what you want to do is you need to prompt your account owner what is your role settings. So it's up to the account owner to disclose to you what you can or cannot do with CAS 360. All right, so going back to CAS 360. So now that we've done preparation of the XBRL, I'm just gonna quickly check here in your community guide. We should have the order the XBRLs. So we don't have it. So I'll send you a another video. It's available on our YouTube channel, preparation of CAS 360 XBRL. That's a lot more comprehensive and much more content compared to mine at the moment. But for those of you who are preparing, do let me know so I can provide you that information as well. Now, I want to go quickly to the next topic. Again, we don't have enough time to go through everything. So now, once you've prepared your XBRL, if you are preparing, you can now prepare also your annual returns. So again, in your main dashboard and your navigation toolbar, select this 4 icon over here that looks like a calendar icon and select returns. So in returns, you do have some alerts available, filters available for you. So this one's currently, we don't have it at the moment. You can see that because our integration with Accra has for lodgements has been switched off. So this one we can't do much for here. And for example, like your financial year end date, you can filter based on the month and the year so that it will display onto the list. If I were to put this, for example, on 26, my list will be a bit shorter. So I'm just going to put one on the 19th first. Here. You will just filter based on the financial year end date. So going to this section over here, so you can see the list of companies that's up, due for preparation, due for AGM. And the most commonly ones are how do we get to the place where you can generate the documents. So in each company that's due for AGM or preparations, all that, you can see this section over here called prepare documents. So I'll use one example of the company. This will be much more better company. And you can click prepare documents. When you click prepare documents, this will bring you to this splash page over here to prompt you that this is a preparation of annual returns for this company. You've got your annual return data. You also have your annual return minutes data. This part is essentially very important. It's because it will determine what it will display to your annual returns and also your AGM members minutes. So I've got this as I've got my solvency status. I will just select as a solvent, as standard. We'll keep it as it is. Again, earlier on when we selected this company as dormant, it would automatically display whether if it's a dormant company. Otherwise, it'll just be a standard. You can also adjust whether this company is required to do AGM. If not, you can just simply select the respective options. Now, if the company is required, for example, to run if the financial statement is audited, the company is required to have an auditor right over here. So this is an example. Now, how do we go about this auditor thing? to make sure that we have selected an auditor, they have assigned it for the company. Now, companies that have audited financial statement, what you need to make sure is that in your company selection, let's say we'll use the same company, Cherry. What you want to make sure is that you've added in an auditor so that automatically it will automatically select that auditor assigned for that company. If you have a new auditor, you want to make sure to process the whole appointment of auditor first. And you can see that you can appoint a new auditor prior to that annual returns and AGM. Prepare the necessary change to appoint auditors so you can display the correct auditor for that AGM and financial year end date. So going back to that same company, so we're going to go back to that page again. You can see I'll just keep it as it is. Unaudited, it's still required. If you have any financial statement that you do wish to upload it on the full set, you can just simply upload that as well. Otherwise, you can also just skip that. For this case, we're not going to upload anything. And on this section over here, this is very important. If you still, if this company, for example, is, let's say, financial, it's audited financial, and you're reappointing the auditor, you'll need to switch on the toggle button. This section over here, the annual return minutes data, this is very important, especially when you're doing the AGM. It's because all the information that has been disclosed in here, including your director's remuneration, director's fee, re-election of director, it will display on your AGM documents, particularly on your directors and your members' resolutions and minutes. So I'm just gonna switch it off. Again, I'll switch off this as well. Put my currency as Singapore. If there's any director, I'm just gonna simply do a very basic one, a re-election of director. If there's any director's fee, example. And then additional information there. I'm just gonna add in that, or many director's fees over here, but you can just add in here as well if there's like additional, for example. So just adding in some data just so you can see how it will display. So you can click save and prepare. And why is that section important is that when I go to my director's minutes and resolution to preview, so previewing a document in your document production is simply clicking on the text in blue that looks like a hyperlink. This will allow you to preview the document. And you can see that this remuneration over here has been displayed onto my director's resolution. So this template over here, this is a system default template. I think some of you may be using it, some may be customizing it. So right now it's currently using the system default. And earlier on, if this information that I've keyed in, it's added into that resolution. So similarly, so that's for director. Similarly, in your members' minutes, if this is something that you disclose as well, the system default will pull out that information. So it's very important that when you're going through whole annual return process, you want to make sure that you've got key in the right information for this current annual return that you're preparing for, so that it will be displayed onto your AGM documents. So here I've got my annual returns. So this is the very basic. And something I wanted to highlight as well, and we're also gonna we're currently doing some modifications and improvement on this part, particularly on the location of your nominee shareholders. So if you recall on the level 1, how I mentioned that you need to assign a registered filing agent in your general details over here, the section over. So I'll go back to one company here. We're working on Morton Cherry. And you can see right over here that there's a registered filing agent. Now, when you assign a registered filing agent for that company, and the registrable controller and nominee director is using the office address of the filing agent, particularly when you do the address, for example, over here, if it's similar to the registered address of the filing agent, it will automatically display this. All right. So what you want to make sure of is that if the registered office address, or rather the location of the registered CAP is different, you want to make sure that it's a different address. So you can simply change it over here and it will display the actual address. Otherwise, if the registered filing agent's office address is used, if this is the same address as the registered filing agent, automatically the system will display as the location of the registered filing agent's address of a registered office. So a lot of times, majority of the time that your clients, they're using your the CorpSec's registered the registered filing agent's address as the location of the registered SCEP for both registered controllers and nominee directors. So will be the standard declaration. So we're also doing some improvements on declaration as well for the nominee shareholder, and hopefully we'll release it in the next couple of releases. So that's one of the prerequisites when you're preparing the annual returns. I'm gonna go back again to my reports over here. Prepare. So again, still the same. So you've got your annual returns, you've got your members AGM short notice. And again, you have an option to switch on the toggle buttons, or if you require to switch on your solvency resolutions. If you do not need some of this information, let's say the exempted from audit requirement, if you need that, you can switch on the toggle button as well. It will do the declaration accordingly. So essentially, this button are based on my setting that I've already switched on. So it's not automatic. You have to switch on the toggle button on which of those documents that you want to prepare in your AGM. Now, a few things to also take note as well when you're preparing AGM and also in other documents like your officer changes or any company changes. In the document production, you have this toggle right options over here that allows you to control each of the documents. So for example, director minutes and resolutions, by default, it selects a resolution. You can manage that in here. Date formats. If you do not wish to include the resolution date, you can switch off that. If you switch on that resolution date, what will happen is that if I click save and I preview that, it will show the resolution date. So majority of the times, a lot of users do not like to display that. You can simply go to your option tab, do not include, leave the document date blank as well if you don't want to date your documents, and just click save. So these options right over here, they'll always be available to all across all your document production to help you control whether you want to date your documents or not. And it will also show to you what you can control for each of the document file. Once you've done that, you can simply, again, send directly to the client or download the AGM document. So here, I will just simply download the documents. And if you recall, every time we export a document out of the software, the system will automatically create a copy and store into the company's document files. So what you'll notice is not the similar layout with ACA. So again, this is something that for a very long time now, we asked ACRA to provide us an exact copy of their annual returns, but unfortunately, this is something that they did not want to provide. So what we have done is we've created our own format for the purpose of annual return preparation. Now, so again, when I go back to my 14 Cherry, you can see that in my documents tab, that annual return has already been prepared. So I've also had also this reminder sent out. You can always delete the reminder if you're ready. If this is not relevant anymore, you can always delete the reminder. So that's how we prepare your annual returns and AGM documents in CAS 360. Now, again, maybe some of you might not be using this feature. For example, it's really up to you. I would always highly recommend to do so. But however, if, for example, you prepare your own AGM documents separately from CAS 360, and you want to make sure that your data is correct and up to date, again, always recommend to mark as filed if you know that this company has already processed its annual return and AGM for that current financial year end. So the most important thing is that informations, the key dates are true and correct so that this matches up your filters. All right. So I'm gonna do a very quick short break before we jump onto the next topic. So we'll do a 10-minute break. So you can go for a washroom or check your emails and all that. We'll come back again after 10 minutes and then we'll jump onto the lesson number 4. All right, so I hope everybody had a quick 10 minutes break and we'll resume back to our level 2 sessions. Again, a quick reminder, the manual of today's training can be found on the webinar chat. If you have any questions, feel free to post your Q&A questions on the Q&A chat on your Zoom toolbar. I'll do my best for the questions. If I'm unable to answer it, I will also recommend you to send to our support as well. All right, so we'll get back and resume to our level 2 session. So our next lesson for today's training will be on a topic on multi-company changes. So this topic can be found on your page 42 of your manual onwards if you are using your manual as a reference for this training. So we're going to go through in this topic to learn how to do a multi-company change if you're changing a bulk registered office address for multiple companies and also doing a bulk officer changes. Now, this feature can be found in your navigation toolbar and at the very next one below your annual return. So this icon over here that looks like a building, and select this option. So for the first exercise, we're going to learn how to do a bulk change of registered office address change. Typically, this particular process is very common, especially if you are the service provider and your client is using your office as a registered office address. So there are scenarios where you move your office to another locations and you need to update all the companies who's using your office address as the registered office address for their companies. So to do that, you can simply go to your new changes and we will select this option over here. You can see registered address. So here I will pick a company. So I'm just going to simply click one company over here. Generally, what you will select is a company that shares multiple addresses, right? So here I can see that this is the current address of this company and you want to apply a new registered office address. So maybe I'll put in Business Changi Road, a solution date. And here at the bottom, you'll see you have different types of settings and options to apply. So you can see an option where if this premise is occupied by someone under the company, you can say yes, you can add in the office occupier. Otherwise, if it's just most of the time, we can just skip that part because if you're just, your office is in just one level and there's a lot, you don't necessarily need that. Now, the most important thing is in this section over here. Now, if this particular current address is to use other than your registered office address, you can simply switch on the toggle button and apply to the necessary address. So you can see you have the business address. If they're using your office address as the business address, postal, meeting, and location of the registers. So majority of the times it will be this one's your register location of the register. So you can switch on the toggle button as well. And you will also see apply a change where the company registered address is the same. So you can see I have one company that uses the same address. So maybe I'm probably going to use another company over here. Let's see. And maybe they have a better example. So this is a better example. You can see that this particular address is not only used by Cherry Team, but also by other companies on the list. They have the same registered address and also multiple contacts uses the same address. So in order to do that, let's say if you want to apply where the company registers is the same, you can switch on the toggle button and click proceed. So the rest of it, I will just keep it as it is and click proceed. So here I'll just switch on Orchard and click proceed. So what it does is that in the multi-company changed, it will list down the company that requires to prepare those change of registered address. So you can see not only for 14 Cherry, but also for Green Tech Asia, March 2012 company training, this October 23rd training, and so on. So you can do a prepare forms documents to generate and simply download. Might have some issues at the moment. Okay. I'm just gonna quickly switch off my digital signing. So I think I'm having some error moments. Let me try another company again. Hope So this is an example. I hope people can hear me. I think there was some audio issue. So this is how we apply the change, the bulk change of registered office address to multiple companies. So if I were to go, for example, so that company earlier, that was October 23rd, if I were to, just gonna quickly check one more time, SG company, I think having some bit of issue at the moment. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, so essentially what will happen is that once you generate the application of the change of office address, automatically the address for those companies after preparing the forms will apply the new address. So just take note of that. All right. Now, so that's how we do a bulk change for registered address. This is essentially useful when you are preparing a bulk change, especially if if the registered office address of the companies is using your office address. Now, another useful one as well would be your changed of officers. So similarly, if you are a official secretary for across multiple companies, and let's say you are no longer engaging you as their secretary, and you want to do a bulk change, you can simply select the option as new change. Under company change, select officers. And again, I were to select Veronica. Resign, I can just simply click that. So what the system does is that it will read through your database to see who are the companies that has Veronica Tan as a secretary, and you can select the option whether you want to apply that to all the companies to resign Veronica as the secretary. Similarly, if you want to do a bulk appointment of, let's say, a secretary, so again, I'm going to do Veronica as a secretary. What the system does is that it will list down all the companies for you that you want to apply Veronica as a secretary. So if I can, let's say I have these companies as my secretary. This is particularly important if you have a bulk of clients that wants to engage you on the spot, and you want to do it in bulk. You can just do the whole process using the multi-company change. So again, you can prepare the documents. It will prepare the Form 45B and your resolutions, your director minutes and resolutions. So this is a good way to use if you're doing a bulk officers change and also a bulk of change of registered office address. Similarly, for the contacts, this is not in this topic, but we do have the same with contacts address as well. If, for example, you have self, the current address, this is the current address. And you can see that this contact is also using the same address. You can do the same format to apply, proceed with the new address, contact address change. So this is how we use the multi-company changes in CAS 360. So the next topic I want to go through is on your lesson number 5, page 48 of your manual, called digital signing. So in CAS 360, we do have different digital signing platform that have two-way integration between their platforms and with CAS 360. To find out more which of the digital signing that is integrated or rather has a two-way integration, you can simply go to our support guides. This one, I'm going to share this to the link as well. Currently, we have the DocuSign, and each of the digital signing, DocuSign, Adobe, ViewSign, and PleaseSign, will have different criterias on enabling the digital signing feature in the software. For example, with DocuSign and Adobe Sign, a prerequisite is that you must have an enterprise account in order to enable this feature. So for Adobe Sign, it's an enterprise account. Whereas DocuSign, it needs to have a different one. I think it's, from what I understand, it's a different planning. It's an advanced solution. This might not be available on the website itself, so please do reach out to our digital signing. I think this one's not that accurate anymore. Kindly reach out to the DocuSign team on mentioning that CAS 360 that you like to have a DocuSign advanced account to enable it in your solution. So I'm going to share this link as well. This is, if you are not in our digital signing yet, you can simply have a look at this for your consideration when you're in the process of selecting which digital signing. For me personally, I would recommend a FewSign and PleaseSign, as FewSign do have a special partnership with BGO, and they do also have some special pricings exclusively for CAS 360 users. Now, another link that I want to share to you is, this is to also help you decide which digital signing to look out for. You can see that this is a summary of what each of the digital signing can provide. Things like Adobe Signs and DocuSign, it has to be advanced solutioned. And the rest is a lot much more flexible. You're required to only sign up the business light. And for PleaseSign will be enterprise account. So if you're using a DocuSign or Adobe Sign account at the moment, and it's not enterprise account, you will not be able to switch on the digital signing features. Majority of platforms, digital signing platform, do require users or other service provider to have an enterprise account with integration with them. So this one is, unfortunately, we cannot control this part. This is on the side of the digital signing platform. So I'm going to share this link as well, just to give you a bit of overview of what we have integration. Now I'm going back to CAS 360. So as along the process of our training, we were always producing some documents as well. And every time you go to your document production, so this is an example of one, let's say reprinting. If we were to reprint one of the documents over here, you can see in your document production screen, there's this particular signing, electronic signing button. You can switch on and off the toggle button if you do not wish to have the digital signing switched on. If you want to switch on this toggle button, again, it will switch on. Now, depending on your practice, how you go about with certain transactions, if, for example, this particular client, you don't wish to switch on, you don't wish to do a digital signing for this particular client, you can always switch off this digital signing. So to switch off the digital signing, you can simply click none, and automatically you will see that it's no longer enabling the digital signing. So if you download the document or directly send the document to the client, so I'm just doing an example. What will happen is that automatically it will send to the client's email right over here. And instead of a digital signing link, it will provide them the PDF copy of this document. So this scenario, we've switched off the digital signing. So we're just gonna quickly see in the system if I've received it. So hopefully I will see one right over here. So usually what will happen is that if it's a digital signing, you can see this is how it will look like. If it's a document, it will be a document attached. So hopefully it will come in a while. So this is an example. You can see we've switched off the digital signing. It doesn't have the link, and it sends across a PDF copy instead. So that's for digital signing, switching off the digital signing. Now, how do we switch on or link up your enterprise or advanced solution or your license, your digital signing license? So to do that, again, we'll go to our settings and select electronic signing. So a prerequisite is that you need to, once again, you need to sign up a separate account, an exclusive account with the respective digital signing platforms in order for you to enable the electronic signing feature in CAS 360. So here I've got my electronic signing integration. It will show to me which of the digital signing platform that I've already linked up to my CAS 360. So you can see here, I linked up my DocuSign. I've also linked up my Adobe Sign. To link up your digital signing platform onto CAS 360, simply click on go to the integration. And right over here, you can see that DocuSign is my active digital signing platform. And if you haven't linked it up, simply click on to this signing or like settings icon and click on connect. So for example, if you're using a Adobe Sign Enterprise account and connect it to CAS 360, you can see over here, it will give you a prerequisite. It has to be Enterprise Plan account. Click yes, and it will bring you to the login page of Adobe Sign. So that's that. So I'm just going to go back to my page over here. Now, one thing also to take note is that if you have multiple digital signing link up to CAS 360, you can only set one digital signing platform as active. You can't put both of them as active, even if you link up multiple. So that's how it works with the signing in CAS 360. Now I'm gonna go back to my digital signing again. So we'll again use as another sample. Earlier on, we just did a reprinting of one of the transactions over here and prepare forms. Now, by default, whenever you prepare your documents in your document production, your digital signing will automatically be switched on. So again, earlier on, you can just switch off if you do not wish to. Otherwise, you can simply go to your settings. If there are some things that you like to change, for example. So right over here, you can see that it doesn't have any address. I'm just going to add in one address as a sample. And you also have the ability to control. Do you want, you can use or use an SMS S2FA for all the signatories, display all the signers' email, for example, and email signers completed signed document pack. So what it means is that once all the signing personnel has signed the document, the system will automatically send to all the signing partners the completed signed document pack. So click Save over here. And we're going to use this example as with the digital signing. I'm probably going to use another company first. And do an example, another example. Again, we'll just use these ones. I'm just simply reprinting this document. If you recall how to reprint, switch on the toggle button, selecting my option right over here, and send off. So what you also notice is that the email template within the CAS 360 for digital signing is completely different. So my format is different and content is different compared to the one that we had earlier on. And you can customize your text. So we're going to go through this in a while, how to customize. But essentially, when you enable this process and you choose to do the whole digital signing, it will automatically lock whoever is required to sign the documents. And you can see right over here that it's not a PDF, attached PDF, but it will show to you a button that brings all the signing partners to do digital signing. So here I'm going to select click send. Again, it will send to my inbox. All right, so it should be sending to my inbox. So I'm going to have to wait for it to arrive. And here, if I go to my inbox, you can see right over here. You can see that it's no longer attached document. So previously, when it was sent, it was a digital sign account. Because the email address for all the signing partner is assigned to my email. So you can see that there are different, they were sent to all multiple companies, or rather multiple signing partner. And essentially you can just click on to the link. This will bring you to the digital signing. So for this case, my active default is a DocuSign. Here I'm going to select review documents. So prompt me to sign to sign. So for this case, it's James Chan. So I'm just gonna add in James Chan. So that's just for James Chan. So what usually happens is that once one person has signed a document, DocuSign will prompt them that they have completed signing the documents. So they have an option whether to download a signed copy or email the signed copy. Now, this copy is essentially their copy. So the ones that it has their digital signing. It doesn't usually download a copy of a complete signed document where other signing partners have already signed, but it's only the one that he has signed. So just take note of that. So if I'm going to close that, as a user of the software, I will get a notification who has signed the document. So you can see right over here, signatory digitally signed. This document for this company has been signed by James. Now, if I were to go to the document, and you can see that this document, it's still pending as DocuSign sent to client. Reason being is because the two other signing partners, the rest of the people who needs to sign the document, they haven't signed yet. So what I'm going to do is that we'll need to have the rest of the signing partners to sign the document. So again, similarly, it's a similar process. We've got Caitlin to sign the documents. I'm just going to quickly sign Caitlin. Here, I'll sign Caitlin. So again, same process. It's going to notify me that as Caitlin, I've completely signed the document. And we're going to complete the other ones. I've got James. I'm going to have to look for another. So there's the last third person to sign the document. So this one is under Veronica. So again, I'm just imagine that I am Veronica signing this document. And again, same process. I'll have to do the digital signing as Veronica Tan. So when I go to my CAS 360 as a user, you will receive notification regularly when somebody is signing the document. So you can see right over here earlier, we have James Chan, followed by Kate Lim. And once all this has been processed, I will receive a notification from my in CAS 360 that Veronica Tan has now signed the document. So this will take some time. It will push back that notification. And it's because it's only 3 of them are doing the digital signing for that particular company changed, what will happen is that it will also notify you as the user that all the signing partner required to sign the document has completed the signing of that document pack. So you can see right over here to mark as read. And you can see if I were to go to that company, it's still a DocuSign sent to client. So we're just waiting for Veronica's these ones to come through to the software. So my system is taking some time, I think. Now, while waiting for this notification, so how does usually a signed document will look like? So this is an example of a signed document. When all the signing partners, people who is required to sign the document has signed the documents, the digital signing platform will automatically send the complete copy, and it will update your CAS 360's document status as DocuSign signed by client. So instead of having to manually update your status of the document, the power of the digital signing is that ability to update the status of the document status once everybody has digitally signed. So I'll give you an example. I'm right over here. Under your actions, you can see that there is this option here called history. And in the history, it will display to you whether when it was prepared, when it was sent via DocuSign, and when was this DocuSign signed by the client. So unfortunately, I think we're having it's not going through at the moment. So that's how we usually received a digital signing. And what it does also is that under your attachments, if it's a complete document, DocuSign will send you a complete signed copy and certification of completion. So we can just simply view that document, for example. So you see that you have a certification. And you also have the copy of the signed document. So this one is an example of more on one of the reprinting the shared transactions. You can see right over here. It has all the signing partners for that transactions. So, okay, we have come through. So you can see that now we have Veronica and Tant, and similarly, you will receive another notification to notify you that the documents for this company have been signed, but all these signing partners. So if we're going to go back again onto my all documents, you can now see that the status of the document has now been updated to DocuSign signed by the client. Similarly, it's the same. You can see the whole historical timeline. So this is how we tracked or used the digital signing in CAS 360. All right, so before I go ahead with the next topic, any questions so far for digital signing? If there's no questions, again, I have shared some useful links for you to help you. If you're not on the digital signing platform yet, do have a look at the link on the webinar chat. This will have you to decide and give you the option on which digital signing platform to use. As what I mentioned, I highly recommend you to also explore FuSign. FuSign is relatively also an Australian brand. It's a lot easier to work with them as a partner for digital signing. They don't require Unlike DocuSign and Adobe Sign, which requires you to purchase a more comprehensive, a much more expensive plan, FuSign has relatively better rates and options, and you can reach out to them and let them know that you are a BGL CAS 360 users as well. All right. Okay, so the next topic I want to cover is on your page for 55 of your manual, called settings. So earlier on, I went through this one a little bit of an accident and mistake, but we're going to go through this again, the settings. Now, the setting in CAS 360 allows you to manage your settings for your reminders, emails, electronic signing, your document templates, email templates, and lodgement agent settings. This is where you store also your custom documents when you want to add in your custom resolutions for directors' resolutions or members' minutes, and also managed your email templates if you choose to send an email directly from the software to your client. Now, the first topic I want to go through is this settings over here called email settings. Now, the email settings allows you to adjust how your emails from CAS 360 will be sent across to your clients. So, for example, over here, I've set my my username, full name as the sender's name. So, if you were to give an example of my email right over here, when I'm sending email to the client, you can see right over here that even if it shows as no reply, this is a standard, a default. This is something that CAS 360 can't control, as this is under AWS. We're working with Amazon Web Services on this as the domain. You can still control how your name will be displayed. So you can, instead of the firm's username, by default, it uses the firm's, the sender will be based on your company's name. If you do not wish to show your company's name as the default, you can simply click as use your username. You also have this question that use username as a reply address to. So you can switch on the toggle button. By default, in your system, when you go to email setting, it shows your reply to address as no reply. But if you switch on this toggle button, for example, it uses your user's address, username, which is your email address. So if I were to go to these, for example, right over here, this is one of the example of the email. And let's say I reply, automatically it goes to my username. Your username is usually your email address. So your client can simply reply back, hit reply to reply back, and automatically it will reply back to your default email address. So make sure to switch on this toggle button over there. You can also set a system default of CCing your managers or other team members in the email when it's sent across. You can switch on the toggle button whether to CC the partners or CC the managers. So where do we get these contact managers is essentially if I'm going to go back to my CAS 360 and select one company, under your company, your company contacts, if you do not wish the director to be receiving emails and all that, you want it to be their company contacts on behalf of those the officers and shareholders, you can simply add in a company contact or the manager. So going back to that settings, again, you can also BCC whoever you want, and this one's a lot more for Australia. If you are managing any Australian companies, you can switch on this toggle button as well. Now, the Smart Docs email, currently right now, it's still on a beta versions. So if you want to find out more, you can just simply go to this link over here. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit more on Smart Docs later on. So Smart Docs is actually a separate application. It's a separate software altogether from CAS 360. So this is why it's not something I will cover today. We'll focus more on this training. But if you are interested, I will drop you an email to all the attendees. If you're interested to explore another solution that we have called Smart Docs, which is our AI software solution um, to help you convert all your paper documents or like soft copy documents into a data to extract data and prepare your data to push to your Zero, for example, or even to extract those data or receipts, for example, or a trial balance into data format. So if you're interested, we're happy to run a demonstration for you. Or currently right now it's a trial version. So this one, do reach out to me and we can give you a trial account. But for now, this is something that still on beta. And and it's not something that we have currently released officially for Singapore. But again, if you are interested, do reach out to me if you're interested for the digital Smart Docs 360. Now, going back to this, one last thing about the email setting is that you can customize your email address to send. So if, for example, you do not wish the no reply email address to appear to your client's inbox, you can always request our team to add your custom email address. So you usually highly recommend it to register your general or your department's email address as the registered address. So for example, if your department is using a corpsec at abcorganization.com, use that email address instead, because that setup fee will be 500 per setup fee. This is a one-off setup fee. And this is something that we had to set up or let Amazon AWS themselves to do the modification for you. So if you're interested in this, you can simply, I'll share this to our webinar chat. If you wish to consider changing your, switching from no reply to your own email address, which is your firm's general email address, then do reach out to us on this as well. Now that's for the email settings. All right, any questions for email settings? All right. I'm just gonna quickly, all right. Now, the next thing that I want to go through is this email templates. I'm just going to jump on the email templates first. It's a little bit more easier to tackle as compared to the document templates. Now, email templates, as you notice, as when you're sending an email directly to client, there is a default layout that's sent across. And you can customize this layout as well. So on the left-hand side, you can see by default, if you're using a Singapore license, it will automatically select as Singapore. If you are managing other jurisdiction, for example, if you have Australia, you can see that the email templates has a lot more, they have more templates for that. And then similarly for Hong Kong, it's a little bit different. And again, for Singapore. Now, before you tackle in, the first thing that you want to do is go to your help guide and select Singapore help. Now, this is particularly important because the Singapore help will bring you to this page called the CAS 360 dictionary that will help you integrate our CAS 360 code within your email template. So here I've got the split. One is email templates, the other one is document templates. So I'm just gonna share to you this ones first. I'll share this on the webinar chat. You can always bookmark that as well. Again, it's easily accessible in your guide. What I want to talk about is that in this list of email templates, you can see these are actually the email layouts that you can customize within CAS 360. So for example, if we are preparing a document prepared, you can see that for an email document prepared, you will have unique codes that you can use in that email template. Similarly, let's say if you are preparing the AGM or annual returns, let's say this is an example of that. You can see I've already a sample. So each template will have a master template, and you can always create your own. This is what I've created so far. You can see that on my other template over here, it's a little different. If I want to discard, for example, I can just discard that template. So let's just show you how. I'm going to reset it completely so you'll see that the layout is completely different. So going back to my list, I'll do an example for annual returns. So I can use this code. This code essentially, the purpose is to call out the data from your CAS 360 database and display it into your emails. So an example is if I want to display the company name on the header, and I want to put in also the UN number, I can simply key in that, insert those codes so that every time I prepare an annual return across all companies, it will pull out the company name and the company number on the header. So what you also notice is that in this dictionary code, it will also tell you where is this information coming from. So for example, the company name, this company name is stored under general details. Similarly for your company number, these are all stored in your general details. If you're looking at this code annual or year of the annual returns, again, it's also in your general details under your company dates. So we want to make sure that before you insert the codes, you a bit of aware where they're pulling out those data. Things like contacts, sending contacts right over here, partner's name. If you have assigned a partner for the company and you want it to be displayed, you can use that code and so on. So here, I'll just go back over here into that section, the annual return year, and I could simply add in for this company. And you can simply add in your body text as how you want it. You can also copy in your, let's say, your signature. So for example, I'm just gonna copy my signature, email signature. So it looks quite similar. So instead of my firm name, it will be myself. So it's also, you can upload it your standard signature header. And again, over here. It's like I could simply put like kindly make sure can kindly checked. For example. And then I can just simply update. So what it does is that every time I prepare a annual returns for the company, and then this will be my default settings. Similarly, if you are sending a document reminder, so if you recall earlier on when you want to set a document reminder for the client, you can set up the same thing as well. So this is my similar format. I've also customized that in. I'm just gonna quickly search for a sample of document reminder. So you can see an example because that is my code over here. So when I sent a document deadline reminder to a client, you can see that whatever code that I have inserted into this body text, it pulls out the data and display onto my template. So you can see it's not exactly like cleanup. I have just copy and paste because I copied and pasted some code. So make sure that you have the layouts are all this and different. The layout is not different. You can change the text. Again, you can add in. So whichever you display or whatever you display or insert from your codes, and here it will display in your text. So I can maybe change it to Homa. And it will display as it is. So we had other, so again, always make sure that you can always refer to this particular link to help you guide you what are the ones email template that can be customized within the software. Things like digital signing, sign complete, electronically signed, multiple documents review. You've also had your document deadline reminder. And recently, we've added in the BGL ID as well if you're currently enabling your BGL ID features. So that's for email templates. Now, what I want to go through next is your document templates. So documents similarly would have the capabilities to add in your custom template. This one is a little bit much more trickier as it requires splitting your documents. So so similarly in this whole process, you can find it in your Singapore help under CAS 360 dictionary. So I'm going to share this link as well on your webinar chat so you can bookmark it when you're ready for you to use and start with the customization. So in the list, it will provide you all the list of Singapore documents that can be customized in your document templates. So for this exercise today, we're going to just look at your director's minutes resolutions. And here you'll see that in director's minutes resolutions, these are the codes that you can use exclusively for that particular document. Now, unfortunately, also something to take note, because this code is only for director minutes and resolution, you cannot use this code for other document templates. A rule of thumb when customizing template in CAS 360 is that first identify the document you're customizing. For this case, we're customizing director's resolution and select that option, and this will provide you what are the codes that you can use within a director minutes resolution template. Now, going back to CAS 360, you can see these are the categories that we have that's all listed in this list. And I'm going to select my director's resolutions. So in this category, director minutes and resolutions, I have two master templates. Now, the master templates cannot be deleted. This is a default document provided by the software. So to go about with starting your customization is you can select whichever that's the master template to download first. So here I will select a single column. So this one, so I'm just going to show you a sample how it looks like. This is an example. You can see that the header is on the left-hand side and then the body text on the right. So some of our users like to use this format. Otherwise, you can also use this format as well, which is a single column format. So what we have recently updated is that we've changed the text over here. This is previously we have a system default. So what we have done is that we have updated the header based on our gathered samples. A lot of the users in Singapore, they display the company name, incorporated in Singapore, registered number, and the document name. So again, you can see it looks totally different. You've got your header all in one single column. And one thing to take note about this customization is that because it's a director minutes and resolution, so any company changes, whether it's an appointment of officers or resignation or of officers or any share transactions, whether it's shareholders transactions, the share transfers, allotment, and so on, and also AGM. All these will be under your director's minutes resolution. So one thing to take note when you're customizing that, as long as it's a director resolution, it doesn't matter whether it's a company name change, appointment, change of address, or change of officers, or share transactions, or an AGM. As long as it's a director's minutes and resolutions, it will all be in one single Word document file right over here. So you can see that most of the AGM text can be found on the very last page, from page 12 onwards of that master template. So here you can start customizing your AGM. So generally for Singapore, AGM is one of the commonly customized templates. So you can start customizing onto this director minutes and resolutions. And right at the very below, you will see that these are the footers. This is like the different signing formats that our system recognizes. Fortunately, if you try to change the layout of these and you upload your custom templates with a different formatting of the signing lines, you will get an error. Reason being is because the system can only understand this format. It doesn't actually understand any type of signing line formatting. So just take note of that. What you can actually customize are the body text. So if your body texts have much more details, for example, this one's a little bit too basic. We made it as basic as possible. This is to allow our users to have flexibility to add in their own templates or text paragraph, particularly the text paragraph. So I'm just going to open an example of one company on my sample of custom template. So here, this is my sample of my custom template. You can see right over here that what I've added in compared to the old one, this one over here, the one system default, is that I've added in this text in writing pursuant to constitution of the company. So some service provider, they still like to use this kind of text paragraph. So what you can simply do is add in this section. Similarly, what you also notice that this is a document name, right? And this is not this particular code calls out the document name. For example, if it's director's resolution, it will show director's resolution. However, how it's displayed, it will be in a proper case. So it will not be uppercase. So a lot of times when we want to have much more uniformed, you can see that this code over here has additional code. So how do we display this document name to have all uppercase? So this is where we go back to our dictionary for director's minutes and resolution. So when you scroll the way down, you can see that these are the sample these are the list, the codes that you can enter. You've got the financial year end, all that. You can insert that in your codes. And we have this section over here called miscellaneous. So miscellaneous allows you to control how you want to display your uppercase, your text. So unfortunately, the system doesn't actually recognize when you try to uppercase a particular embedded code. So it doesn't work that way. So there is a specific way in the backend coding, it needs to have a code instruction to tell the system that please display this code, this particular text in uppercase. So what you need to do is simply you can just make sure to copy that and always ensure that you insert the code correctly. So for this case, I'm going to go to this section over here. So now, if I don't code correctly, what will happen is it will display this way. So here I'm just going to select, so you can see that I didn't key in correctly. I'll just go back to my code again, just to make sure. So that's my document. And I want to add in that this text, right? I like to put this whole entire sentences, and it's going to be in uppercase. Now, this is a free, the only thing that the system recognizes as uppercase, because this is a free text. This is not a code. This is not a part of a code. So automatically, the software can detect, okay, this text is already uppercase, but this code is not. So you want to make sure you add that uppercase. So here I've got this text, and what I want to do for this exercise is to just simply customize the way I do appointment of director. So here in my text, I've got my standard template, and I want to add in, instead of adding in a company, the word company, I want to indicate which company. So I want to add in the company name and the UN number. So here I will go back to my CAS 360 code for directors resolutions, and I will search for the code to display company name. So here I will go back to my text. I'll put and copy my company name. And I also want to add in the company number. And I want to just highlight this as bold, that, and just additional, for example. So I'm just adding in this just so you can see how it would look like. You can also adjust how these ones display. So again, going back to my code, I've got my miscellaneous, uppercase, and date format. So here I've got the links of my code and how I want to display a date format, for example. So here I want date long form uppercase. So you can see you've got quite a number as well. If you want this uppercase as well, you can add that in. So we have improved a bit of this formatting. So what I'm gonna do is I want to select this one instead. So I'm gonna go back to my template, my custom template, and I'll insert this to my code. So this would display, so here you can see that it will show me this is the code. This is how I'm supposed to insert the code. And again, I want to also display, if I'm displaying the date of my resolution dates, for example, this is one of the example. I want to add in this code. I want to make sure that I add in this code so that it will display based on this code, this instruction code. Usually this will appear if you choose to date your documents. Otherwise, if you do not wish to date your documents, this shouldn't display. I'm just gonna do this something really basic over here. So what I'll do is, this is my format. I will save this sample. I'm gonna put in today's date, 26. And click save. And I'll close that document, and I'm gonna go back to my CAS 360. So again, we're gonna go to your settings, document template, and search for director's resolution. So this is my director's minutes resolution folder, the category. And here I'm going to upload what we have just customized. So if you're happy with this document and you want to set it as a default, you can set us as default. So that every time you're preparing a director minutes and resolution, the system will use your template. So let's go back and go to one of the companies, and I'm going to do a simple appointment of an officer. So here, when I click on to reprint and preview the document by selecting the document, you can see right over here that this template follows my custom template. It has resolved the director to act as a director of the company, 14 Cherry, and the UN number. This was the additional text I've added over here. I've added the code to display the date to uppercase or uppercase. And because I didn't enable for the resolution to have a signing date, therefore it's not displaying. But if I were to display, for example, or add in, let's say, apply a document date, for example, I should show it over here. Currently, we removed that as people don't seem to like to date there. But essentially, it will display the document date, and it will be displayed similar to this. Yeah, so this format over here, just going to quickly check one more time. You can see it will be displayed something like this. Now, with regards to your customizations as well, that this thing is always really useful. Always make sure to, whenever before you generate a document, click onto your settings for a document to check for one last time if you've selected the correct layout. So whether you want to leave the document as blank, apply this date to all documents if you're dating it, and if you're using the document. So let's assume I want to go back and switch back to the other templates for this director's resolution. So I select that template. This is the master's template. Okay. And as I preview, you can see that it will go back to the system default. All right. All right. So that's how we do a basic customization in CAS 360. Now, before I add on, continue on, so I'm just going to go through a very quick question. So there's a question that come through asking if there's a page number. Unfortunately, we don't have that code. So again, gentle reminder, anything, only the codes available here for per document type. For example, we call it document type. These are the only codes that you can use within the documents. Things like, for example, if it's outside this range, this list, it means that we don't have that code. So what I'll always suggest is, again, always go to your feedback button that to request that, look, I would like to have some numbering system into my document type. How do we go about? Is there a code? Things like that. And our team will have a look at it to test it out if it can be done, if the system can read it, or what line of code that we can create. And then we will update you and also update our list as well. So for now, we don't have a code for page number at this stage. Now, going back to document templates as well. So similarly, this is something that I'll cover quite more comprehensive. So I hope bear with me. So a lot of times when we are customizing, particularly AGM documents, the document will be in one full Word document. So what I mean by that, so I'll give you an example. So here, usually what happens is that when you are customizing, when you have your own Word document, you have one single Word document like this, okay? So in the system, in the software itself, how it was organized is that the documents are split into document type category, which means that you cannot simply upload this AGM template into these folders, okay? Because we don't have a particular AGM template. And that as an AGM, the AGM template itself comprises of different document types. It comprises of a director minutes resolutions. It comprises of notices, members minutes, for example. You've got your attendance list and so on, and certificate. So what it does is like, to show you an example over here, is that what you'll need to do is that when you have a template, what you need to do is you have to split your AGM template into different document type. So for example, over here, I've got my custom AGM, audited director's AGM. This is a director minutes and resolution. So what we've done is that we've split up this document in one Word document file. And we've also copied the footer. So if you recall that the footer here in the system, in your own Word document, is not something that the system can read. So it will actually cause error if you copy and paste quite exactly, the system will not read the layout. So with the header and footers, if you have downloaded this document, I'll go back again over here. Remember that this header, when you download this out from the system, all the way at the very last page, you can see this is your footer. So you need to make sure you copy and paste that to your document type. So this is what we have done to one director's AGM minutes resolution. So similarly, I'm going to go back. We have your members minutes, or rather members notice right over here. So we essentially split up the AGM documents as well. And what you also have to take note is that for things like this is an example of one client's AGM template that we had a look. They were happy to share to us what they've done. This part over here. So this part over here, unfortunately, the system cannot split the shareholders per cell. Okay, so it runs a code that list all the names like that. So it doesn't have, it's not able to run a code where okay, this name, put it in the next cell, for example, because by default, if you look at the notice, the attendance list, well, we're gonna go back over here. This is an example of attendance list. If I were to download that, for example, you can see that it does not have a cell. It has a cell like this, but it only has a code over here to display all the names. So if there are, whether it's only one members, like one shareholder, or multiple shareholders, it will display onto here. So it's not able to determine which cell should the second shareholder or second attendee or a ghost respectively. So this one, we've informed the client that this cannot be done because it needs to follow this format. System cannot read to insert which cell. Right? So going back to that, so now we have split the documents. So I'm gonna go back over there. So we've split it, the documents. So once you're ready, they've split it up. The first thing what you do is go to your companies. Now, when you're creating AGM templates and uploading it into respective document type folders, what you want to do is create a label. So label allows you to organize your companies. As an example over here, I've got all the companies under CorpSec Team A, for example, or any companies under accounts and audit, or like any company's account Amy, it will be categorized here. And you can also organize or create a label to organize your documents. So here I've already created one. One is unaudited as well. And to create a label, simply add in your AGM. So you can put as unaudited AGM, unaudited, audited or dormant. For example, if you, let's say, AGM dormant, unaudited. So, for example, that's it will create into your list. You should list somewhere here. And you can manage your label as well if you need to rename it. I didn't manage to save earlier on, but you can see that I've created this unaudited and audited AGM. Now, once I've created that label, I'll go back to my settings and select document templates. So here I'm going to start uploading the document types based on these ones right over here. So here, for example, if I'm going to go to my directors resolution category, I want to insert that directors AGM document. I'm just going to quickly right over here. And what I'll do next is that I will add in the label, as this one is audited, so audited AGM. So that every time I tag audited, apply this label to the document production, it will use this template, even if I have another default. So we'll do the rest of it as well. Another one is members. I'm going to select members resolutions. So here I've got one already unaudited. I'll just delete this one first for less confusions. And I will select right here. This is members AGM. So similarly, I'll put in my audited AGM. So we're going to do the rest, notice of AGM. I'll add in audited AGM. Notice, not sure whether it's in a similar one. This one is members notice. Concept to short notice. So I'm just uploading whichever that I need over here. Again, audited AGM. All right. So I'm gonna just check one more time which one. So I've got my AGM short notice, my limited by shares. So it's kind of like the same format. You want to make sure that that you are uploading your correct file to the respective document category. You can see if it's over here. So I've already had it as well here. I've already added in. So that's that. So what I'm gonna go do is that when I go to my returns, right? And let's have a do the same company, prepare the AGM documents. And in your document production, you're able to actually set this. You can see that it's pulling out your system default. So what you can simply do that, let's say you want to use, this is audited, for example, and you can simply select audited AGM, and this will apply all the AGM document types that's tagged as audited AGM. So if I were to click on directors resolutions, you can see it pulls out that document. Now, if I were to, for example, go back to my default and I preview that document, it will bring back to my system default. So now, if I were to go to my AGM templates, I generate out. So all the ones that I have uploaded my system templates, you can see over here that this is my the one that has been selected by default. Click download. So this is my summary menu returns. And you can now see the system default, the AGM, my custom AGM audited template. So I don't have any custom solvency resolutions, but the rest of it, you can see that it will follow whatever I have uploaded as well. All right. So this is how we customized. If you're particularly customizing an AGM template or you want to upload your AGM template onto your respective document types in CAS 360. Right. Now, another question that comes through, can we preview the documents that we have created? Absolutely. So again, whenever you prepare documents in CAS 360, you can always preview them in the document production. So again, I'm gonna do one more time. If you do, let's say this document that we just prepared. And when you're previewing the document, you can simply select to preview. So it will open up a new Word doc tab for you to preview the documents that was ready for preparation, ready to be exported. So again, to preview the document, always click on the document, the text in blue. And it will show you click to preview. This will allow you to preview the document. All right, so that's how we customized or customize your templates and add in your custom template in CAS 360. Now, the last thing that I want to go through for the last sessions, under your settings, we have what we call automated reminders. So in your automated reminders, you have different types of reminders available for across jurisdictions. We do have ones for Singapore, and by default, usually it will be switched off. So what you will see is that all this is switched off. If you're managing other jurisdiction as well, it will automatically just be by default this way. Now, to enable your document reminders in AGM reminders, for example, this case, AGM reminder, you can simply switch on the toggle button and set. So you can see I've done this already. And at the beginning, when you're setting up, you won't have any of this. So we can do an example. So I'm just going to delete all these templates. So just to give you a bit of idea. So by default, you will see something like this, like no dates at all. So what you need to do is to be able to enable this feature, you want to be able to have the flexibility to set it on your own. Right? So now I don't have any over here. So first thing, you can click on add reminder and you can select your days before. So for AGM, you can select up to 90 days. You can also select based on financial year-end date or based on AGM date. Here you can select which date that you want to send the AGM reminder to your client. It will show to you the local time. And by right now, it shows as email. And again, you will have a system. You can select your general reminders. So where do we customize this again? So if you remember in CAS 360, again, going back to your settings email template, you've got a AGM reminder over here. So you can select the email template layout. If you want it with 6 months, this one you can. So now I'm going to select over here based on AGM, and you can select as many as you want. So for example, 90 days before, and I want to select 60 days before. I'm going to select my six months reminder email template and click save. And you can just click save. So unfortunately, this system right now, it doesn't allow you to, once you have launched or processed the AGM, for example, and processed that, you've marked the file, it doesn't exactly switch off automatically. All right, so this is something that currently our team is having a look if there's a way around to switch off that as well. One of the reasons why we can't really switch off that is because a lot of the users have different ways of using the AGM documents. So a lot of times there are users that uses our system, you download or export the documents, but customize it and prepare. Some of which they don't use this system at all. They just mark as filed, or sometimes they don't mark it as filed. So it really depends on how users are using it. So what we're currently looking at is how are users using the whole AGM workflow, particularly annual returns and AGM, and how it ties back to the AGM. So at this stage, what it can do is that you will be able to set a bulk reminder based on 90 days, 60 days across all companies in your system. So I hope that answers the question. All right, so that's for the AGM reminder. And if you want to also do the reminders for others like your annual returns, we also have that available under your document reminder. This time around, this is for annual review or annual returns for Singapore. If you need to remind your client about their confirmation of their annual return informations, you can set up to 30 days. So this is how we set a automated reminders in CAS 360. All right, so that's pretty much what I can cover for our lesson, level 2 of our CAS 360 trainings. So any questions so far on the topics that we have covered? All right. Otherwise, thank you so much for your time. After this session, our marketing team is going to send across the recording of the training together with the manual. And also for those of you who have attended the sessions, I'll be sending you a sample of my my director minutes and resolution and members minutes and resolution templates that you can start playing around as well. And if you need the instruction guide on how to upload your AGM documents, I'm happy to send it across as well. All right. Thank you, everyone, for your time and have a great evening ahead.